Hi, this is Jason with Guardian Home Inspection. I had a few free moments and I wanted to answer a question that I receive all the time. And the first question that most people ask me is, how much is the home inspection going to cost? And of course my answer is, well, that depends. It depends on a lot of variables. How old is the home, where's it at, and how big is it? But the real answer is about $350. The actual answer is it ranges between $300 and $400 on average, and that just really depends on, like I said, all of those variables. The real question that you should be asking yourself is what is the cost to not have your home inspected? And why do I phrase it that way? I phrase it that way because we generally find a significant number of defects that's important for your buying decision. You have the opportunity to ask the seller to make repairs at a cost to him. That seller might not do those repairs, but at least you'll know before going into the home that you're going to have a certain number of defects to fix, and then you can make an informed decision. That price might seem a little high. You've got your down payment, you've got to pay for an appraisal, there's your all kinds of moving costs. There are a lot of costs to buying a home, and doggone it, you got to pay another $300 to $400 for a home inspection. Well, I want you to think about something. We're actually a really good value for what we find. If you were to hire an electrician, for example, you might expect to pay $600 to $700 just to have your electrical inspected. If you want to have your plumbing inspected thoroughly, you might expect to pay upwards of $1,000. I've asked the question to multiple tradespeople, and I've said, hey, Mr. Electrician or Mr. Plumber, this is what I do. What would you charge to go do that? And those are the answers that I received. You also should think about having your roof inspected. What's that cost? What's the cost of hiring an HVAC person to come in and evaluate your furnace? All of those costs are so much greater than the cost of a home inspector. Now, with that said, those are specialists in their field. So when you hire an electrician, he's probably going to do a more thorough and expert evaluation of your home. But it's doubtful that he's going to find much more than we do, because we already know the defects and where to look for them and how to find them. So we have very few tools. Let me show you some of those. Here's an example of some of the tools. This is the tool that we use the most. We can test electronic circuitry like GFCI circuits, that's the ground fault circuit interrupter. We can discover if I don't know if you can see this or not, but we can discover if there are open grounds, open neutrals, open hots, hot and ground reversed, hot and neutral reversed, and if the wiring is done correctly. Let me show you how this works. We're in a kitchen, and this receptacle is lighted correctly. Oops, now you can see it. This receptacle is lighted correctly. If this red one would be lit up, we would know by the way the colors are what's wrong with it. But let me show you a defect. I'm going to push this button and you notice it lights up red. That is telling me that this kitchen receptacle is not hooked up to a GFCI receptacle. That is not necessarily a defect because older homes are grandfathered, but by modern standards you would have some protection in anywhere near water. You would have or should have installed an electrical receptacle that has a little button that gets pushed. Not every receptacle has those. These receptacles are tied in together, so we know how to look for and identify that. Another tool that we use, very less regular, is this. We can find out if wires are hot. We can check high voltage and low voltage. These are called a dummy stick in the industry, and all they do is they just tell you if something's a live wire or not. We also use this, and this is to check the 220s because the shape is different, and so we use these prongs and we insert them in. We can't tell a whole lot about the receptacle other than it's a 110, but we can tell enough. We'll know if it's a 220, and if it is, we'll at least know that they have power. On the 220s, the polarity is irrelevant, so it doesn't matter. So an electrician might have a larger number of tools and the ability to trace things down. We don't have that ability to trace wires and do all of the things that an electrician would do. We certainly can't test your furnace, for example, to the same level that a qualified HVAC person could. We don't have all of those tools and equipment. But like I said earlier, we actually know what to look for. When your furnace is not operating correctly, it will leave us signs. We'll find, for example, rust. We might find moisture buildup. We might find deposit buildup. We might notice that the flames aren't the right color on a gas furnace. There's a whole host of issues and things that we can look for that require no special tools. And all of these things are easily seen and easily found by a generalist such as ourselves. So the home inspection is a very critical part of the process of buying a home. And the cost, although it might hurt or sting a little bit when you're shelling out that $300 to $400, just know and understand or say to yourself, what's the cost of not having the inspection? Because not knowing the defects can cost you a whole lot more.